Hello, everyone, and welcome to our sixth episode of A Little More Closer. I'm Estelle Franklin, a psychotherapist at Pause for Perspectives, who's going to be your interviewer today. And we have with us Dr. Tina Fernandes, the former head of the department at St. Francis College for Women. Today's topic is self-compassion, and I would like to ask Dr. Tina Fernandes to introduce herself and tell us more about self-compassion.
Okay. Thank you, Estelle. Yes, I am one of the consultants at Pause for Perspective, and I just love being there. I love being there for my clients and my team members. And thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak about self-compassion today.
Thank you, ma'am. A lot of therapists and people talk about practicing self-compassion, loving ourselves, accepting ourselves, and being kind to ourselves. But if you had to define it, what would you say?
I love the definition given by Kristen Neff. She says self-compassion means being gentle, kind, understanding with yourself, accepting that you're not perfect, understanding that there is potential for learning and growth in every mistake you make. She gives us the three components or the three elements of self-compassion, which I really truly love. The first component she talks about is self-kindness versus self-judgment. And that is the ability to recognize that failing, suffering, inadequacy, pain, and experiencing life difficulties is inevitable. So can we try to be gentle with ourselves when faced with difficult experiences rather than getting angry when our needs are thwarted or met? The second component she talks about is common humanity versus isolation. Being human reminds us, and she keeps asking us that we are human, and keep reminding ourselves about being mortal, vulnerable, imperfect, inadequate, as well as that we will always or sometimes go through all these feelings, and rather than being something that happens only to me alone, that I'm part of humanity. The third component she brings about is mindfulness or versus over-identification. She says mindfulness is a non-judgmental, receptive mind state in which one observes thoughts, feelings as they are, without trying to suppress or deny them. Mindfulness requires us not to be over-identified with our emotions, our thoughts, our feelings. It also makes us aware that we are caught up, engaged, and swept away by negative reactivity, and how to come back to the present.
Thank you for sharing that definition with us, ma'am. And as you explained about, the three components, I was just wondering, do you do it in your personal life, or do you apply those components in your personal life? And if you do, how do you do it?
Yes, Esther. I'm now at a and I've noticed that when I look at my past with the multiple roles I played as a woman, as a daughter, as a sister, as a wife, a daughter-in-law, a mother, a teacher, a mentor, and an employee, I noticed that I have inclination to be perfect in all ways. And that made me be in a constant state of autopilot. My stress levels were high. I was tired all the time. I realized that I was suffering from blood pressure. I was snapping at my kids, and I was being incredibly hard on myself, always feeling that whatever I did wasn't good enough, wasn't what it should have been. And all the time muttering to myself, there's so much to do. I was raised in a family that emphasized the importance of service. That it was very important for my family that we do things for each other and for others. I assumed that spending time and energy, being kind and caring towards myself, automatically meant that I must be neglecting somebody else or everybody else for my own selfish ends. I wanted to be more caring, more empathetic, and more giving towards others. But it was self-compassion that helped me go way beyond accepting my experience as it is, my grief, my anger, my fury, my rage, my fears, my shame, my sadness, and added something more. It helped me embrace the experiencer with warmth, and as my students would call it, with tender loving care when my experiences were painful. Self-compassion helps me even now to give myself that care, support, to meet many of my own needs directly so that I have more emotional resources to give my kids, my family, my clients, and the outer circle. There have been times when I feel totally helpless, hopeless, overwhelmed with the things I need to do and do and do. At these moments, I remember to say the words like, this is so difficult for me. It's so difficult for you, Tina girl. I'm sorry that this is happening. This is a moment of suffering. This is real. This feeling is real. I feel so hurt. I feel grief. I feel sadness. I feel scared. I feel anxious. I feel worried. I feel regret. And I'm human to feel whatever I'm feeling. And when I used to bring common humanity, I used to think about other people are also feeling something like this. They too are multitasking, and I'm not alone. I know this is hard. Can I offer some comfort to my emotional experience? I would then place a hand on my heart and say, it's okay to feel like this. It's okay, dear one. It's tough. And then I would love to call my higher self, my Holy Spirit, my angels, my saints, and the loved ones who have passed away, and repeat again and again, we are here for you. We'll never leave you. We're always there for you. It's going to be okay. We care for you. So this is how I've used loving self-compassion in my life.
That's so beautiful, ma'am. Just as you were sharing, I was just imagining what would it look like for me personally, to just in moments where there's no compassion, to just allow myself and say, it's okay. And how all of us, whoever's watching here, will learn to say, it's okay, and this is how it is, and call upon, a higher self on what we think, or who can help us with practicing self-compassion. Yeah, thank you for sharing that, ma'am. It's wonderful and beautiful. Also, I was wondering, how do you talk about this in your sessions? I mean, you've shared how you use it in your life. In sessions, how do you do it, and when do you do it, and how do you?
I've been noticing that Christine Neff came early 2010s into my life. And I've used this with my students. And right now with my clients, many clients come to express their imperfections that make them feel inadequate. They also come to talk about things they don't like about themselves. When do they feel not good enough, not deserving enough, not smart enough? They come to talk to me about their insecurities about self and others, conflicts in communication, how they judge, they criticize, evaluate themselves constantly. and experience a lot of shame, sadness, anxiety, worry, fear, panic, oh my God, phobias. Depending upon the number of sessions, I do inform some of them that human beings have evolved with 3 key systems to regulate emotion. I talk to them a little bit about their brain and nervous system. I talk to them about the threat system, which alerts a person to danger. I also talk to them about the drive system, which motivates us to seek our goals and reach our goals and strive. And the third thing that I talk to them is our soothing system, which gives a person the sense of safety. Building self-compassion is not a quick fix. There's no single behavior that goes with self-compassion. Depending upon one's situation and circumstance, where there are different types of behaviors which could be helpful for any person. The 3 categories of self-compassionate behavior involve taking care of ourselves, taking care of others, and taking care and doing things, attending to things that we need to do, and choosing alternate or healthy behaviors. The aim of all these sessions is not to take the emotional pain away, or to solve, or to fix, or mend the problem at hand, but to see what happens when you choose to be kind to yourself by involving yourself in self-soothing activities.
Oh, that was wonderful, ma'am. You know, what stood out from that bit of your sharing, the aim is not to take away the emotional pain, but how you can soothe it, and how that itself can bring about so much of compassion and so much of self-compassion for oneself. Yeah, and that leads me to our next question. What acts can be classified as self-compassion, and how can one practice it in some little big ways?
Since self-compassion is a practice of goodwill, not good feelings, but goodwill, I would love it if you consider a self-compassion pause. Now, self-compassion is a radically new way of relating to ourselves. It's a kind of new stance towards myself, and we need to practice being gentle with ourselves. And that's why I love that word, self-compassion pause. We mindfully take breaks and pauses during the day to accept the moment as painful. Oh my God, it hurts. And then embrace ourselves with care and kindness. Remembering that imperfection is the part of a human experience. This allows us to hold ourselves, hold our breath, our emotions, our sensations, our thoughts, our emotions, our experiences, our behavioral reactions and responses, and the different parts that emerge in sessions and outside sessions with gentle awareness. Giving ourselves the support and comfort. And how can we do that? The pause could be just taking a long, slow, deep breath, or affectionately breathing into that rhythm of the experience of breathing. Because breathing deeply gives us a sense of safety and comfort. There are times can I wrap my pain in a warm blanket of love? Can we coach our inner voice to talk to ourselves like the way I would talk to a best friend? Can we take pauses to inhale some soothing smells? Can we sometimes take breaks and pauses to eat our food mindfully, especially the food that you love? I'd love to have my comforting soup, or maybe I love rasam too. Sometimes I spend my time in writing, I grab a journal or a notebook and write down what your negative thoughts, write down my negative thoughts, because acknowledging them and giving them space is so important. And then at the end of it all, I tell myself, I'm not my negative thought. They don't define me. So this helps me. And another way one can take a break is even try write a kind letter to myself. The time when you're feeling little happy-go-lucky and feeling grateful and feeling happy, write a kind letter to yourself. There are times that you couldn't sing a soothing song or listen to some soothing music. And there are times when you pause and ask yourself, what is it I want to listen to right now? What is it I want someone to whisper in my ears right now? There are also times, apart from wrapping your pain, can I soothe myself with a gentle touch? Can I place a hand on my heart? So could you do that, Estelle, for me? Can you place your hand on your heart? Just feel the presence, the touch of your hand on your heart. Just take a deep, long, slow, deep breath. And whisper what you want somebody to whisper to you. Can you sometimes give a gentle hug to yourself? Sometimes in these moments, I remember my mother placing her palm on my forehead. So when I miss her and I need to feel her presence, I do keep my hand on my forehead. You could also try compassionate pause by sort of sitting with yourself and calling upon unconditionally loving, kind, compassionate, and accepting friend. It could be imaginary or real. That's why I love to call my angels. And I love when they tell me, I know you've made a mistake. You have done something hurtful, but just the angel, just the presence of this compassionate friend, the higher self, the higher power, knowing that they are quick to forgive and understand, helps me to come back to the now and helps me to deal with what's going on in the now, right now.
That was so beautiful, ma'am. And, I like how you asked me to, my hand on my heart. And that part really brought so much of, compassion, so much of a feeling into this moment with you and with your sharing. And, this gives me so much language as a therapist and I do practice compassion in my sessions, and it's giving me more language, more ways in which I could think of bringing all that you're sharing here today with us in sessions and in our daily life. I was also wondering, what does compassion make possible for us? If you could tell us a little more.
Self-compassion allows us to tune in, make us more willing to acknowledge, accept, and allow and experience all those difficult feelings with care and kindness. Self-compassion helps us to process and let go some of those painful experiences in the moment and feel them a little fully. It's so nice to know that it's not necessary for us to stuff our feelings, and it's okay to admit how much of pain you are in. Can you offer? Can you hold? Can you give the gift of patience and kindness, non-judgmental understanding to others as well as to oneself? Being the teacher that I am, I looked at research, and research has shown that when you treat yourself with compassion, one might reduce negative emotions and self-blaming cognitions, ideas, beliefs, experiences experienced in response to things we did or we have to do or things we did not do. Practicing self-compassion entails inhibiting and exhibiting self-kindness, mindful awareness of internal experience of negative thoughts, emotions, or discomfort without being engulfed, without being overwhelmed, without being caught up by them, and understanding internal experiences as universal for all humans, thereby encouraging self-forgiveness. Self-compassion is regarded as an adaptive stance towards the self that improves psychological functioning and increase psychological and emotional well-being, as well as intrinsically motivated behavior. Several self-compassion interventions have shown improvement in self-esteem via self-soothing or nurturing, encouraging positive self-talk, as well as improvements in self-regulation, health-promoting behaviors, and stress. Studies have also shown there is an increase in resiliency and curiosity to encourage positive risk-taking. There seems to be an increased acceptance of oneself, even in response to failure, which can heighten self-efficacy, which in turn helps us to reach our goals and commit once again to some of the goals that we have planned, especially like goal-directed behaviors like eating behaviors, very, very tough goals, not able to stop smoking, weight loss. Researchers are discovering that compassion is one of the most powerful sources of coping and resilience available to us. It helps us to survive and helps us and encourages us to thrive and flourish. According to Dalai Lama, if you want others to be happy, practice compassion. But if you want to be happy, practice compassion.
That was a beautiful piece, ma'am. And when you spoke about negative thoughts, I was thinking of how criticism comes in the picture, right? And when self-criticism or, Mr. Critique, like most clients would like to call it, Mr. Critique or Miss Critique steps in, how do we hold space for that?
Self-criticism is so common, and it's a very common problem, and probably it plays a very important role in our day-to-day life. Many of us struggle with our inner critical voice or voices. It could be the voice of our father, mother, teacher, or preacher. Chronic self-criticism arouses the sympathetic nervous system. And most of the time, the threats are due and are created in our minds when we mercilessly judge and criticize ourselves for various inadequacies and shortcomings. It's things like, I'm fat, I'm short, I'm dark, I'm ugly, I'm lazy, I'm not smart enough, I'm not tall enough, I'm not good enough. These messages seem to be born of internalized messages. We have lived these internalized messages, we have lived throughout our lives. And we have received these messages from our significant others while growing up, from our agents of socialization, society, media, and institution that have influenced us, our actions, our attitude, our beliefs, and our behaviors. At this moment, I just don't know. I just keep wondering, wherever it comes from, what can I do about it? Can I give some room for myself, for my self-critic? Can I hold space for this voice? For me, holding space is being fully there, listening intently, and being fully present. Friends and loved ones cannot be with me all the time, cannot be with all of us all the time. And they're not available when I need them or when we need them. So can I hold space for My critic. Why does my critic push me so hard? I wouldn't treat someone else like that. Why do I allow Mr. Critic to do that for me? Yes, in my sessions, I've started giving names, and some of them call inner critic as Mr. Critic or Madam Judgy or Mr. Mean or Mr. Monster or Madam Cruella. Can I spend some time knowing all these Mr. and Mrs. that attack me all the time? Can I know the purpose of them in my life? What kind of a job does Mr. Critic do? Can I listen to these answers knowing that I see myself as worthy of attention, kindness, and generosity? Can I tell the voice that you understand that it is nervous, anxious, or worried about getting hurt, but that it is causing you unnecessary pain? Can I acknowledge the function of the critic who's protecting me in a wonky way? Can I offer this part of me, the gift of loving kindness? Can I make peace with my inner critic? Can I gently accept, comfort, support myself, and tap into the power of self-compassion? Can we hold our pain, our brokenness in a caring and compassionate way, in a caring and comforting way, which helps deactivate our sympathetic nervous system and helps us relax so that there's a release of oxytocin and helps me to heal? Can I awaken and turn my inner critic to being an inner encourager, a gentle supporter? Can this gentle supporter, can this gentle, compassionate being, can this gentle inner encourager whisper to myself, I am worthy of love?
Yes, ma'am. I'm sure all of our viewers, uh, as you say all these things, like I am worthy of love. If we were only taught, you know, if to acknowledge the presence of our inner critique and also create space and hold space for our inner encourager, how all of us would be in better spaces. And it's never too late. We're learning now through this interview with you of how we can beautifully hold space, for ourselves, for others, in times of, when our inner critique speaks out aloud, how we can bring in the other part of us that is an encourager, is someone who holds space, for ourselves. And I'm thinking of how there are also times when we do things that are absolutely not okay, and we need to hold ourselves accountable for that. So, how can one be accountable and also be compassionate?
I know, because no matter how hard we try, we will mess up, we will fail, we will blow it, and we'll step out of time and step out of line, and we will bash ourselves up and sometimes bash somebody else up. But admitting that we are fallible human beings, doing the best we can and being compassionate to ourselves in the face of our misdeeds actually allows us to take more responsibility for our actions. First of all, when we relate to ourselves kindly, even when we have behaved badly, it is safe for me to face the truth about myself and ourselves. We don't need to deny what we have done or distort the incident, and we don't need to start the blame game. Self-compassion helps us to listen deeply to ourselves, and when we are reflecting, we can also own up to it, do the right thing by us, and do the right thing to others with kindness. One can own up to what I've done without fear, because admitting I am wrong and taking responsibility doesn't now require criticizing myself, bashing myself, or being harsh and mean towards myself, or self-judging myself, or self-condemning myself. Rather, it doesn't even mean being punitive with myself or rebuking myself. Since self-compassion is all about being concerned with the elevation of suffering, our own and that of the others, we will be causing further suffering if we knew and if we know that we are harming other people and denying our responsibility for our action. We then will keep ourselves stuck in the same unproductive cycle of behavior that will torture us over and over again. That's why self-compassion helps us to take responsibility, to correct our mistakes, because we care and because we want to thrive and we want to flourish.
Wow, that was such a beautiful way, ma'am, the way you put it out for us. And in this moment, I just would like to check in with how you're feeling as you share all of this.
Yes?
In this moment,
I didn't hear you. Could you repeat?
In this moment, as you you shared all of this, would like to check in with you. How are you feeling?
I do feel that my heart is opening up, because self-compassion is all about the heart opening up and just being there for myself as well as being there for others. And it's been an easier journey. It's a practice and an easier journey to be there for myself. So of course, I do lose it. Of course, I do go into my autopilot. Of course, I do go and just forget where I am in this moment. But checking in, that self-compassionate pause makes me come back and then check in. How's my breath? What am I feeling right now? What do I need right now? What can I give myself right now?
Just like you said, self-compassion is, all about the heart. Mostly it's what I'm feeling as well right now. As you share all this, there is an opening, of even how I'm feeling and how I feel towards bringing and allowing self-compassion into my life in sessions, and how I can take it forth. And of course, we're all going to get back into autopilot, get back into, listening to our inner critique, and how we can use little ways of, allowing our inner encourager. I like to say that. So our inner encourager, and, allowing and creating space for self-compassion. With that, ma'am, sorry, ma'am. Yeah?
Yes.
I'm thinking of, we're almost towards the end of our conversation, and I'm wondering if there is one word that stood out for you from whatever you've shared, what we have shared today. Would you like to share that with us?
I love one word, but I thought I will just give a sentence that in this journey of life, self-compassion is a warm fuzzy, gives me the courage and strength to face my struggle and do what is needed to alleviate my hurt and my pain.
Wow, it's so beautiful and heart-touching, ma'am. And when you said it's warm and fuzzy, it reminds me of, a warm little blanket that you want to wrap around yourself, and even those little acts of, how that is a little practice, that little moment of giving yourself that kindness, that little compassion that you need. Yeah. Thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing. With that, we come to an end of our conversation of our 6th episode, Little More Closer. Thank you for being with us today and sharing so much. Is there anything else you would like to add or share?
Thank you so much, Estelle, for talking to me, holding conversation with so much of warmth. Thank you so much. I enjoyed the time we spent with each other.
Thank you, ma'am. I enjoyed it as well. And I'm so grateful to have had this opportunity to talk with you about self-compassion and how it's so important for me as a person, as an individual, and also as a therapist to, keep in mind everything that you've shared and take it forward. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.